welcome to the podcast. I'm glad that your team reached out because I think your story sounds really interesting. I haven't really talked to that many festival owners before, and your which I think is an interesting thing in general, just like how that whole side of the industry works. I've talked to a lot of producers, obviously, and so I know how that side works. But yeah, the sort of putting on the show side of things I'm not super familiar with. And your festival has quite an interesting model. So you founded a festival in Southern California called Same But Different, and you launched it with, or maybe you didn't launch it this way, but eventually it might have become like you offer basically a fan ownership model where attendees can invest in the event and participate as co-owners and whatnot. Is that all accurate?
Yeah, and thanks for having me on. It's good, good to be on.
Sorry, of course.
There's probably less of. There's just not a ton of us out there that are doing the music festivals. That is accurate, but that's new. That's like brand new. What we're doing with this community, being able to kind of own the festival. It's been like a dream that I didn't think would be possible for many years, but that I'm pumped about. But no, when we launched it, it was just a handful of us, and no intentions of it growing to kind of like the size that it did or anything like that. It was me and my partner Peter, and then a handful of like friends that just kind of pulled together funds to kind of get this off the ground at the start. Mainly just musician friends of mine. Peter and I met playing in a band for this. There's a show down here called the Mustache Bash. It's like a funk 70s disco party that happens every year. They're in their like 16th year or something like that. But I met him at like an open jam at like a local bar, and then he was like, "Hey, we need a keyboard player for this band we're putting together. It's like 70s disco covers." I was like, "Cool, it sounds like a lot of fun." And so we played in that band together for like 5 years, and then another group, and then I just kind of hit him up one day randomly and was like, "Hey, do you want to try to start a festival?" Thinking kind of more like backyard party being like the biggest that we could ever get to, like a festival, like let's put a stage together with like some speakers and just some local bands. And then, that was kind of what it was year one. In all honesty, it was pretty small. It was like a couple hundred people, and we just kind of kept doing it, and it's a good time.
And year one, it was just in a backyard of someone's house, or
no, it was at this. It was this. The amount of people that came could have fit in the backyard of somebody's house, but no, it was at the fair. It was at the place where we have it now, which is called Lake Paris State Park. And we found that spot kind of, we put together like a list of, hey, if we're going to find a property, it needs to have all of these things. And we wanted there to be like a swimming component, and we wanted camping to be part of it, and we wanted it to be close to LA and also close to San Diego, so somewhere in the middle. So we kind of had this whole list of like, this is what it should be. And we went out scouting, and we're just kind of like, we were looking at like RV parks and different campgrounds and things like that. Nothing really like hit the mark. One of the big issues you run into is there's just houses. Like Southern California is pretty like built up, so there's a lot of residential near everywhere you would think of going. So you couldn't really go too late. And we found this place. Actually, this other event happened there. That it was a festival that only happened one year called One Love, and we were asked to play in this. I was playing in this like kind of like bluegrass jazz band at the time, and they were asked to play that fest. So that's where we found the property, and we reached out like the next week. And yeah, then we were kind of off to the races.
When was year one? What year was this?
That was we found the property. 2017 was when we reached out. 2018 was the first year that we did the festival.
Okay, so you've been, and I guess you didn't do it through COVID, so you're on what, like year 6 or something by now?
We're on year, we just had year 6, so yeah, going into year 7.
Right. And how many people is it now?
Oh no, we just had year 7 going into year 8.
Gotcha.
Around just a touch over like 7,500 people, and we like cap it there.
Okay, that's fucking yeah, that's huge.
Yes.
And is the reason you cap it just so it still is like a nice environment to be in?
Yeah, so exactly. We kind of that wasn't always like the intent. I mean, we never knew we'd be at that like level or whatever. But as we started growing, we kind of wanted to find the right number. A lot of festivals that I like loved going to, even like as a as a kid. I think my first one was like 13 or 14, but I've gone in like the early years and then going back to it, or going year after year after year as they sometimes grow. They'll double double double, and all of a sudden you're at the festival that you loved when it was 5 or 10,000 people now has 40,000 people, and it's still cool. There's still some of the magic that is there, but it's a whole different. It's just a different thing. They can go way bigger now on like production, and there's fireworks, and triple the lasers and all of that. And that's something that we have a little bit of, but we probably can't compete because that costs tons of money. But what we really kind of like doubled down on was just that community like feeling when you walk around and you go from your campsite to the stage and back again. You're going to run into the same people and kind of get to know each other, and it's enough room to dance. All of that. It kind of just felt like the right number.
Yeah, I was chatting with Tipper, who used to put on, he's retired now, I guess, but used to put on his own festivals at Suwanee, the one in Florida, I think. And he said a similar thing. He caps it at 7,777 tickets, I guess.
Oh
He
yeah.
just likes that number. But I asked him why, and he said it's just like once you get past that number, the logistics also just get like way more complicated. Like you have to, then all of a sudden you need like police and security and like way more porta potties, and like it just becomes this whole logistical nightmare above that number for some reason. Is that kind of your experience too?
There's definitely some hard laws. I mean, because I've been part of production now on other festivals that are much larger, and like past 10,000, you start getting, the state gets involved. Past like 15, I think there's like different federal regulations of what you need to be able to like. It's considered a mass event, and so there's a lot of different things that you need to do. I wouldn't say. I would just say like in general. Past that number, and maybe there's a little past there that would make sense. There's not too much more that we would have to do. We kind of have we have police there, we have all of that. It's actually really nice. We work with the state park. Their police is like the state park rangers, and they're like just super helpful. It's not like I guess I've been to festivals where it's like the county sheriff, and they come out and they're looking to like bust drugs and like do all of that. Very, very different vibe when it's like the state park rangers.
Hmm.
But the thing for me is it just the crowds start to it just becomes more. The lines get longer. The getting people from A to B to C to D, from stage to stage, whatever they have to do, you have to kind of corral them a little bit more. More security is needed, and yeah, we're allowed. I guess we get a little bit of leniency and a little bit of like, people can kind of like fuck around because there's not such large crowds where if you have 15,000 people, all of a sudden it's just that much harder to control. All of a sudden, if one person starts doing something, you have 100 more that start doing that too, and it becomes a train wreck.
Mm.
Yeah, but I think for us that was just kind of like a number that we were like, this is, we had set that at a point, we're still, growing, at that point we were like, this seems like a good kind of cutoff point. And yeah, also
Nice.
Tipper's played the fest, so he's
Oh,
awesome.
nice. Hell yeah. When do the mass event laws kick in? Like at what number of people do the laws kind of shift?
I think it's at 10,000 in California. And then,
It's probably different from state to state, right?
yeah, and from what I understand, it's 15 with like federal, where there's
Mm,
different, different guidelines and things along those lines of what you would need.
gotcha. So you said you used to go to festivals when you were younger, and you would see them grow year after year, and eventually you would kind of enjoy them a little less just because there's more people. What were some of those festivals?
The first one that I went to, and it was one of my favorite, was summer camp, and
Okay.
also it's like still pretty. It continued to be awesome. I went for years, and now it's kind of shut down, and they sort of switch names. And I heard it's coming back maybe this year, but summer camp in Chillicothe, Illinois. I'm from Chicago originally.
Oh, okay.
It's like out on this farm, and I think I went like year two, and then three and four and five, and so it was like back in 2001. But it was really cool. It was like, maybe tops like, maybe 2,000 people or something like that. It was like camping out in the forest, and you could just like go and explore the farm and, do whatever you wanted. That was really cool. Going back, they just kept kind of growing. There was less place to camp. Parking was harder. They had to kind of control people a little bit more. They used to do this giant bonfire. Like it was huge, and anybody could just, throw in as much wood as you wanted, and it would like win all night. And probably one of my friends ruined that. Like we were high schoolers. I just saw him go running. Like he had a full tree, like 35 feet. Like, I mean, not super wide, but like, a really thin, like long piece of tree. And he's running around and holding this thing. And then like he lost control because it's heavy, because it's a tree. And it like dipped down into the fire. And he's like, oh no, and picked it up. And all the leaves were on fire. And he's
Oh
like
no.
trying to control it in the crowd. And I was just like, oh, what is this guy doing? He's going to like light this whole farm on fire. And I don't know.
Jesus.
But I mean, like things like that, you just, my idiot friend is the reason you gotta probably put controls on things. As
Now there's no more fires.
I'll probably no more bonfire there. I don't know. I haven't been back there in a while. Since I moved to California. That and still, it's like that's it's still really cool. Like I don't want it to come off the wrong way. Festivals that have 40,000, 50,000 people are awesome. And it's just a little bit different than what we're doing.
It is a different vibe, yeah. Once you get to 40,000 people, I think I've only been to a couple that are that big. Lost Lands is probably one of them. And yeah, at that point, it's to get from where you park to even just the stage I was playing at was like a 30-minute walk, and yeah, it becomes a whole ass thing for sure. Yeah, in terms of Chicago festivals, the only one that I was supposed to play was North Coast Festival. I think that's over there. And
What's your
I was
favorite one
supposed
that
to
you
play it in
played?
like 2017 or something, but there was like a crazy storm. It got rained out, and so I got there, and then they were like, actually, there's no festival, so I didn't get to play. So I still haven't done a Chicago festival, but I've heard a lot about summer camp, yeah. It's just like hard to not enjoy something when there's like a billion people watching you play. It's like the energy is just a lot higher than if there's, a couple of hundred people.
Yeah.
So that one was definitely probably a highlight for me, show festival wise. But best show I've ever played was recent. It was the opening for Tipper for his last show ever at Red Rocks. That was by far my favorite show I've ever played.
Yeah. I would imagine.
Yeah, the people, that crew, the Tipper crew, they're like conspiracy theorists, but for music. Like they will like pick apart every little thing that you did in your set, and like they'll go on Reddit and like fully try and like work out the track list and figure out like all the little Easter eggs in there and stuff like that. And it just feels like very validating for someone like me to like put all of these little Easter eggs in there and then have people actually bother to find them.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. So you said festivals get bigger and then they're kind of less enjoyable, or like lose their culture a little bit maybe. What about Burning Man? Because that's like 100,000 people or something, right? It's massive. I've actually never been, but from what I understand, people who go are like really, they're into it. And
I also want to clarify. I don't think they lose their culture or their coolness, anything like that. Like Lightning in a Bottle is one I still go to a lot. I went when it was 4,000 people, and now I don't know the exact number, but it's above 25 for sure. But they it's still super cool. It's literally all I'm saying is it's just more people. So like
Yeah.
you're in a larger crowd everywhere you go. It's harder to camp. All those things. I think and they've done a phenomenal job of keeping that culture really tight. Having like cool little things as they've grown. And yeah, Burning Man, what you were about to say. I mean, that's they're at over 100,000 people out there in the middle of the desert, and they've definitely held on to something super magical out there that they're able to do. I think part of what you get is the same crowd returning year after year. I think one thing that happens with it's just any festival. I think and this is what's been sad because coming out of COVID, all the festivals that have kind of canceled and died out, just because it's been for whatever reason, we can get into that. But like all of the festivals that have canceled and died out, every festival that cancels is like the death of a community, a really tight community, and something that like a lot of people, thousands of people look forward to every year. And it's not just, it's almost like more than a vacation. It's like for some people, it's like what they need. It's like their getaway and their reset or whatever that is. And with each one that kind of goes under, it's sad to see that community die. But I think that it's a big piece is the people that came the year before. They come back and they kind of teach that to the new people, the next crowd that comes in, and that next crowd kind of learns like, oh, this is the way here, and this is what you do, and then gifting people things or how we. How you just celebrate at each festival is a little bit different. How everybody interacts with each other, and like, no, we don't do that. That's not how we, operate. And you kind of go into that group mindset, and each place has a little bit different vibe. So
oh, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what are some things about same but different that you think are kind of unique to that festival?
Not crazy unique, but I mean, just like massive amounts of kindness is like first and foremost. We haven't had an incident with a fight, like just straight up everybody being like really, really, really cool, full positive energy. Constantly just what can I give you to make your experience better? And all of that. I think we skew a little older. We're not like we don't have like a big crowd of people that are like 18, 19, 20, 21 through 25. We're a little bit older crowd, 25, 30 up to 40, and even older that come out. It's a lot of we get a lot of the Burning Man crowd actually that comes. So I think a lot of the ideals and all of that. I mean, we're 1 month after the burn. A lot of people kind of use our festival as the regroup after that to decompress. So we have a lot of that. I think what lends itself, like we have far and away, like the largest piece of our staff is like literally they're like clowns and like actors and like people that just come out. Like I talk to a lot of people, especially as we're doing this, it's really cool that we're doing this owned by the community thing because it's allowed me, I just set up a Calendly and I was like, book time with me. I'm down to talk with anybody if you have questions about anything. And I thought that was actually going to be really horrible. It's been really cool because everybody I've been talking to, like at least, they have like positive things and they're like, dude, this is what I love. And one person was like, I never know when I'm walking around, I feel like somebody's just part of the crowd. And then all of a sudden they're an actor and they're like, they were actually, and I had no idea. And we did the numbers and it's about 1/3 of the people that are at the festival are, whether they're volunteers or like staff or whatever, like they're part of the crew. Like they're on the list of like, we have like a list of like, okay, here's everybody that's working. And then, here's the tickets. And so 1/3 of the festival is putting it on for the other 2/3. That kind of like lends itself to something cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always like stuff like that where you go into an environment and it's like fully set up to be just like a whole thing to experience. Kind of like I felt like I went to Casa Bonita in Denver recently, and felt the same way about that. It's kind of like a bunch of the people who you think are patrons are actually like actors there who are
Yeah.
there to kind of just fuck with you, really.
Yeah. I went there once. I haven't been there in years, but it was really cool.
Yeah, it's a good time. Has growth for the festival been stable the entire time? Like you started on year one and then it just got bigger, 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 or did it kind of go up, down, up, down? Especially with COVID, I imagine that might have made it go down for a few years. Or...
Yeah, so short answer, yeah, it's just gone up every year. And then, yeah, COVID, we didn't have a festival in 2020. And then when we came back in 2021, we had like a giant growth, like everybody, but I think that was just kind of like everybody wanted to come out of their house.
Yeah, they were just kind of like starved.
Yeah. So our growth has been pretty much on the same level. I think what we've had to learn is our spend, just as a business, is like we've had years where we were like, oh, let's go all out, and let's like book the biggest lineup and we're going to get more people. And, that was kind of, as we were still learning what we are and what we wanted to be. And those were some of the, just, I guess, learning lessons, of like how we wanted to run and operate this festival and make it last. But yeah, it's grown every year. We've always just felt like put on a really good show, and people will come back and they'll tell their friends, and word of mouth will spread this thing.
When you hear, do you know about Billy McFarland, the guy who did Fire Festival?
Yeah,
Have you watched the documentaries and stuff?
I have. Yeah.
So when you hear that story, do you like hate the guy, or do you kind of empathize with him because you know how hard it is to put on a festival, or like what is your feeling around that?
Yeah, a little of both. The Firefest happened the year, it was like a few months before our first year that we had our festival. And so so it completely messed with us, because we were like, all right, we're gonna go out. We got this property. It's really, I don't know if you've seen it, but like Lake Paris, like beautiful, it like looks epic. And we got the beaches and the water and like sunsets. And we went out. I got a drone that I had like bought on Amazon. I was like, all right, we need some video content to promote this. And we obviously don't have a crowd, we don't have any festival shots. So let's just do a cool drone shot of the property and try to explain how cool it's going to be. And so we have like, like the water and like the shots of like all of that. And it literally looked just like the Firefest video that they had like filmed like, right after that whole thing collapsed. And like every comment on every video that we put up was like, oh, Firefest #2 for sure. Never go to that. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it lost what it did to the industry as a whole. All of a sudden, as we were booking artists, every agent was like, no, I need to, they were like, this has never been our policy, but we now need to see all your bank statements and make sure that you have cash in the bank and all of that before you can book artists.
Kind of broke trust.
Yeah. And so I think that the whole industry changed completely. Everybody's like, oh, these things, we never even thought this could happen, but like, that's insane that this just happened, and they just duped all these people. None of the artists got paid, and all of that stuff. So, yeah, kind of like, set, and then the crowds, and like, especially a person that's never been to a festival, they see that, and that's what they think of festivals. So they're like, yeah, maybe I'll buy tickets, maybe not, so I don't know. I'm not a fan that all of that happened. I don't think that it's also unbelievable that it did, because yeah, they're hard to put on. It's extremely difficult to run one of these. So yeah,
right. And especially doing it like where he did it, often in the boonies, kind of on some island that everyone had to like boat or fly to or something. It's logistically insane.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible. Having now, okay, so in year 6 we introduced the island. There's an island in the middle of our lake, and it's it's fairly big, like a football field across, something like that, maybe a little bigger. And I've been staring at that island since year 1. I was like, we're gonna party on that thing at some point. And finally, like last year, we did it. We had, our first year where we actually put a stage out there, and then we did it again this year. We got it better. We honed it in more. We like had figured out some things, but it is super complicated just to get. I mean, all the ferry systems and the boats and docks and all of the things to the lifeguards that are needed and insurance and getting a generator out to a freaking island. All of it's absolutely insane. So to do it on the level he was trying to do it, just sounded impossible, and it was.
So, well, yeah, how does that work? You have an island, and then you have a bunch of ferries that you rent, I guess, for the weekend or whatever, and then they just go consistently between the two, like between the island and the mainland?
Yeah, basically.
Like 24 hours a day, they're just going.
Yeah, we run it out. We have a stage down on the beach called the Coconut Club. So that's like one of our large stages. And that's on the beach, maybe like 120 feet off the water, and it faces into the water. And there's a huge tent from the stage out to the water. So a lot of people are under the tent and they're dancing. And a lot of people are also like kind of floating out in the water. So we had to kind of like move it off to the side because we don't want people floating into where the boats are coming. So, you kind of got to like lane it off, rope it off, and then built like, sort of a ramp system that like, I guess a wooden pathway down the beach to get there. Just so, if somebody's in a wheelchair, they can get there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a separate ticket to go like to the island. So you can either do a day pass or you can do unlimited. And then we have a stage there. We have workshops out there during the day. And then, we have multiple boats. So it's pontoon boats that are going out there. And then you land on the island. There's an actual like dock that you land on, and then all sorts of decor and like, we do a lot out there to make it like just like wild. And then a big stage that we build on. There's a beach there too. So there's we partner with a group called Almost Naked. They're out of San Diego, and they do some really awesome shows here. We love working with them, and Leave runs that, and she's done a great job with everything. So she and her team kind of like take a lot of the lead on just bringing a lot of their decor that they have, a lot of their stuff and speakers and things like that. And so we call it Naked Island, and people come out, and it's like an all-day party out there. And there's a path you can like walk around because there's a mountain, that you can like actually go climb up. So a lot of people will go for a hike, and there's just like random beaches that you can just go chill on and explore, sort of whatever you want to do out there.
Is it swimmable? Like if you were on the Coconut Island stage, could you just swim to the other one, or is it kind of too far for that?
So first of all, tried it myself and realized it's a little over like a half-mile swim.
Okay, so doable if you're like insane.
Yeah, if you like know what you're doing, and I thought that I did, and I didn't tell anybody. At like one morning of the festival, it was like day 3, Sunday. I like woke up, I was like, I'm gonna swim out to the island, and I got like it was like the halfway point. I was just like, I'm dead tired. And I was like, I didn't tell anybody that I'm doing this. I was like, am I stupid? It's like, how am I going to get back? So I turned around and got back. It was a dumb idea. So I can't.
Maybe you got halfway and then came back. You could have just kept going.
I could have kept going, but then I'd be stuck on the island.
Well, you could have got a boat back, right?
I guess, yeah. I didn't bring a phone. It all kind of clicked with me as I was swimming, how stupid I was. But it's swimmable. We had somebody else on our team swim it. But if a lot of people will take, so you can buy the boat ticket. Other people have bought like stand up paddle boards. You can bring in your floaties or paddle boards or whatever into the fest. Because a lot of people are doing that stuff while they're just like chilling down at the Coconut Club. And so people will paddle board out there, and that's fine. We don't stop them.
Right, like if they're willing to go to that effort, you're like, you don't need the ticket.
Yeah, I'm like that's fine, and enjoy yourself. I guess if all of a sudden hundreds of people were doing that, maybe we'd say there's a problem. We got to figure it out. But it's like,
your insurance is going to triple next year or something.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the fan ownership model. You said this is a new thing. And from what I was reading online, it's like people buy a ticket and then they kind of own a stake in the festival. How does this work?
Yeah, it's actual ownership. So it's like stock. In order to um, like raise, so in order to raise money from like that many people, you have to actually file with the SEC, and because they want to make sure that you're not like I guess like yeah duping people or whatever. Like hey, here's our crypto coin that you can have ownership in or something like that. So it's
Mm.
real, true registered ownership, and the idea. So it's newer. It's like a newer. I don't know when the law was passed, but it allowed companies to be able to do this. And in order to do it, you had to work with basically there's two companies out there. One of them is WeFunder. That's who we work with. Because the dude that he called me and sort of explained to me this whole idea and this concept with it matched up really well with what I've always dreamed of being able to like allow the community to own a piece of the festival. And he was like, hey, it's, at that point, it was a few years ago. He'd gone the year actually Tipper had headlined, and he was like, I love the fest. Like, I think this would be a sick idea, if you did this. So that, goes back a few years, and, we kind of stay in contact. And I don't know, things kind of like lined up and like felt right. And I didn't really know the right way to do this and to introduce it and not have it feel like it was being done for the wrong reasons. And then it kind of like all clicked with me of like, oh, we should, like, first of all, we should do it right after the festival, not at like a random time, like when we drop our lineup or something along those lines. I was like, I feel like right after the festival, it's more of a this was a very real thing. We were all out there together, and like, this is something that we can all kind of do together. And then the way that WeFunder works, you can have like perks tied to it too. So if somebody, invests at kind of like a Kickstarter. So if you invest like $500 or more, we can make perks that, also are included. So you get ownership, true ownership, like dividends, and like if the, festival, like, what the success, the shared success of the business. And then perks, so like, free tickets and, like different things like that, merch packages. It all goes up. And I wanted to make it so I was like, well, if somebody doesn't understand investing whatsoever, they'll look at the perks and be like, oh, that's dope, I would do that. And if somebody doesn't understand the festival, because we have like a lot of investors, so since we like launched this, that have come, they're like, I'm interested in investing, I'm a investor in all these startups or whatever. I want to know your financials, and I wanted that investment, that to all make sense too. So that's kind of how we structured it. But yeah, it's been really cool. It's allowed is like, like I said, I was on these calls with just so many different people because I figure, it doesn't sit with me right to be like, yeah, we're going to take your money and you're going to be part of this business, but I'm not going to talk with you and I won't answer questions, so we're doing Zoom calls and setting up meetings and kind of running through like answering questions for people, but just hearing everybody's like stories and it's just been wild to hear how far reaching what we've done is, like where it's going, and people that have started, like one guy was like, I went to Same. I was in the worst place in my life, incredibly depressed. I had this mushroom trip with friends, and it changed everything. And now he has in Portland like a psilocybin, like for PTSD, and like it's a place for to help with depression, and in veterans, as well as just anybody with depression. And I don't know, it was just cool to hear that story of like, whoa, that's led to this business, and now this is like it's touching more people and hitting more lives, and that's like one of just so many stories. But been really cool. And then hearing feedback from everybody, you get a lot more voices. The idea is once you have like a piece of ownership, like you're a business owner now in same but different. What do you think we should do? What's your feedback? And a lot of people have had some really good things to say. I shouldn't say good things to say, suggestions, improvements that we can make. And a lot of them make a lot of sense. A lot of them are off the wall crazy, but I'm happy to explain to people like, we can't do that. This is why. But some people have some really good ideas. So yeah, it's been fun. I feel like you go a lot farther together than apart, and having 100 more people now, or 200. I mean, it's a good amount of people now on this journey, and like fully invested in it, and wanting to figure out how we get better. I'm all about that. And yeah.
So for someone to invest in it, it's not like everyone who buys a ticket now owns a part of the festival. It's more a thing that you do after the festival where you say like, all right, you can invest now, and one of the perks might be that you get a ticket, but that's like not the reason why you're giving us money. It's to invest, but then a perk is a ticket kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, and this was a weird thing because we weren't sure. This is more going into like, I guess the marketing of it all, but because we come out of the festival, we always do something called our community tier sale. And it is the lowest price tickets. It's for next year. It's 364 days away from the festival. There's no lineup dropped, but it's like lock in now. So we, always do that. We wanted to continue that, but we also had this investment thing where it was kind of like two calls to action. So we weren't sure how anything was going to go. We were like, these might both just fail because that's confusing to somebody to do. But our ticket sales for next year are like separately. That's a whole different thing that's run on the ticketing program, the ticketing platform. If you want to lock in for next year, that we just closed out, and our goal was, we like wanted to hit the same numbers that we did last year, and our ticket sales for next year are up 25%. So we were like really pumped about that because I didn't know how that was going to happen when we have this separate invest thing, and then the investment piece. So you can invest $100. That's kind of like the lowest that you can do through WeFunder. There's no perks with that. $250. I'm going to try to remember this off the top of my head. $250. I think you get then into like the online. We have like an online thing where which we're setting up, but it's like the ability to kind of like vote on some stuff that we're going to put out there. Obviously, we can't be like, who do you want the headline, and whoever you vote for is who we're going to get. There's too many things with that. But, it can be like merch designs and, different directions on different things. We're going to have like some fun interactive pieces, but also a way for the community to just kind of like communicate with each other, like on a Discord or something along those lines, and kind of just get deeper and deeper into it. And then so there's some perks, like the levels go up. $500 is like annual meetups, where we just did one at our show with Cannabis. So it's just like free tickets. You can come out, while hang out beforehand, and then there's this whole party afterwards with Cannabis. $1,000 is where you get a free GA pass. And then 10,000, which is completely mind blowing, because then we have 2,500 and then 5,000. So at 10,000, I like expected nobody. Like we were like, let's just make perks, at high levels, and sometimes it's like, let's just make a higher level thing that'll make the lower levels seem, better. That's been the most, like, far and away the most people have invested in that. It's a free ticket for life, so it makes sense as I think about it. But that's where most people have landed.
And so when somebody invests, say, 10 grand, what responsibilities do they take on, if any? Or is it kind of like they just get some input on a Discord, some input on like merch designs, but then also just get to go to the festival for life?
Yeah, it's more of they don't take on like liability. You mean? No, nothing like that. It's just like if you bought a stock in a company, and like if you own a stock in Google, and Google like messed up or something like that, you're not carrying. You wouldn't be liable. You don't get in trouble for anything like that. If they owe debt and go bankrupt, you don't owe that debt. So nothing like that. They get ownership, so it's more in the upside. If there's future dividends or any sort of sale, in the future, anything along those lines, it's true ownership, in the company. Just like if you invested into a coffee shop or something along those lines, or into a large company. So and then there's the perks too. Yeah. So that would be like free tickets for life and all of that. Do they have more responsibility, like working for the festival? No, not at all. But a lot of people have been like, like I really like I'm happy to volunteer. I just want to work for this thing and like, try to do it's been like my dream to be a part of the crew or, to do whatever, and which I'm totally happy about. It's not too glorious, it's not too fun, but if people want to work, I'm all about it.
Yeah, doing the work side of shit on festivals, especially on the production side, it looks hideously difficult. Like whenever I rock up to a big show and I just see all of the scaffolding, all of the gear, I'm just like, how did this happen? It's like, who does it? This looks like so much work.
Yeah, it's a crew and they come out so freaking fast to put that up.
Yeah, it's like, when did you guys get here? They're like, oh, Tuesday. And I'm like, wait, so you built all this in like 2 days? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I've never built any of the like personally never built any of the stages or like done any of that side. I see it. I mean, I know how they do it. It's wild.
Yeah, I have so much respect for people working in that side of the industry. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
So how do you manage community input at scale? Because you said, people buy a $200 thing, then all of a sudden they can vote on things and stuff. And what you said, you just have a Discord for that, or how do you manage that?
So we're working on that. Honestly, we just set up like the vote like I set up a form with everybody that's invested to like just to get feedback on like what platform we were kind of internally having like a long discussion and back and forth on what's the right platform for this and what we wanted to do. And honestly, I was like, why don't we just poll the audience and see what they want? And by audience, I mean the investors. Who's invested and what platform do you want to, be on? What are you most comfortable? Is it a Facebook group? Is it something I've never heard of? So we just kind of like are doing that. We're going to close this out. It ends December 31st of this year. So after that, we close it all out. All the investors that are in, and that's when I'm going to kind of like go off to the races on getting things like settled, getting everything set up. And the reason I kind of want to wait on that is because there's like I want all the opinions in. Having done all these conversations, there's a lot of people that are like, they're going to there's some significant, I think, investors that are, probably going to come in. I want to know what they want and what they want out of it. It's like I want to do right by everybody is, the basics of it, just like with the festival. I want to like make sure if you invested that you're feeling like you got fulfillment on, the level of like, feeling like you have some input into this. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what does your day-to-day look like at the moment, and how has that changed over the years? Are you sort of doing talent buying as well as, organizing all this investment stuff and recruiting people's opinions, or like how does your day-to-day life look?
Yeah, good question. It's always changing, and I love that about this. And I guess in year one, and two and three and four, probably it was like, I've slowly, I guess, got myself out of doing jobs and doing like all the work. And and it wasn't just me and Peter who started this. And then there was like a handful of people that were, helping out in a few different ways. But it was a really, really small crew, and we were doing everything. And by doing everything, I mean like a lot of stuff wasn't getting done super well. Like at the festival, I literally thought about the gate like on the spot, and I was like, oh yeah, somebody's got to scan these tickets. And yeah, it was wild. And leading up to it, just as wild on like social media and everything, the marketing side of it, getting the contracts together, figuring out all of our production, AR with artists, and making sure that they had like green. We didn't even. I mean, it was just like afterthoughts. Like everything was an afterthought in our first year. Building, getting more. I think like one of the biggest things is that we don't really have like a problem. Like the biggest problem was like, yeah, we need somebody to do this. And I was like, who? And it was like, well, I've run out of friends that want to do this, and I don't know anybody else. And I think now it's expanded to the point where that's not like an issue. That's become like the I guess a really big like benefit is if we need to hire, that there's like really good people that want to work with this festival and help out. We've kind of built that into a good space. So now it's organ. You know what I try to do. I'm not perfect at it, but my goal is to like give. There's like departments, so each the festival all has to work as a whole, but there needs to be individual departments, and then each person kind of owns that department, whether that's AR, whether that's the clowns, our what we call our creators club, or production, or parking, or ADA, marketing, all of the different like components that need to work together. Having one person that's kind of in charge of that, and making sure that they have everything that they need to be able to just be successful, and that they, if they have questions or they, don't understand things, that that's all handled, and that they're staying on budget, and it's kind of more of that side, I guess, just business like anything.
So more like macro management now rather than micromanagement.
Yeah, right now, coming out of the festival, this is usually the time I like slow down and take like a few week nap. But right now, I've just, since we're doing this big community raise, I came out of the festival like firing on all cylinders and like super pumped up to keep that going. So I've been doing a lot of those calls with people, and just kind of like talking through investment. That's led to a lot of different opportunities, looking at different possible side, not side projects. It's the festival, different versions, different events that we might do. We do a lot of other events as well, besides just same but different. We have base series that we do down here. So every month or two, we have another big show, and then we have side shows. We have next week an STS9 show, and then we have a big one up in San Francisco. So kind of all over the place: LA, San Francisco, Phoenix. So
is putting on those side shows, like you do your base show every month, the STS9 show, is that just like infinitely easier than putting on a festival?
Yes, yeah, they're way easier. Yeah, we have, they weren't always, but we have a really good kind of crew that can get in there. And like a big thing for us is we don't want it to just feel like another concert. If you go to one of our shows, we saw, because they don't make a whole lot of money comparatively to like the festival, which is just like major revenue. But they are really good, like, for if somebody's never been to our festival before, but they're like, well, I'll go to this show. I want them to be fully immersed and just be like, holy shit, this is what, like, I didn't realize that this was possible at this nightclub. So we go like all out on decor, and we have a huge team go in there, and we have hired actors. We want it to feel like you just stepped into a completely different universe if you go to one of our shows. And so that I guess makes it a little more challenging than just like when we have just done like concerts. That's almost like hands off, because most venues can kind of run with the show on everything. You're just kind of promoting it and maybe hiring somebody to do merch. But yeah, the more immersive ones, they're more complicated, I guess, to put on, but we have a really good management team that can run those. But they're way more fun because you come up with, it's like the creative outlet, I guess, is, coming up with different concepts and what that can be.
How is it working with artists if you book them to play a show and you're like, oh, we want to do all this decor and have all these actors, and they're like, no, I just want a black room and a video wall and that's it. Do you ever run into that kind of thing, or?
Then we do it, but no, we've never run into it. I haven't run into it where an art. So at the festival, yeah, I mean, we've been like, we have this stage design, and they're like, that doesn't work, and that's fine. I totally get it. I've been lucky enough to wear like a lot of different hats, I guess, in the industry. Never an artist at any scale of anybody that we would book, but I at least get the concept of like, I have a show in mind, and I've worked really hard to make this show mine. whether that's lights, lasers, the video wall, like that's important. And I wouldn't really fight an artist on that. Usually, I mean, a big thing that we do is work with all of the headliners, and I'm sure every festival does this, but to make sure that our stage design matches what they're, going to be able to do. And if it doesn't, then we redesign our stage.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's really nice. I feel like when promoters are willing to work with artists on that. Like my thing is, I personally, I just like a completely black room, no lighting, nothing, just a video wall, and that's it. And the only reason I feel that way is because I've worked so hard to make the music and the video be completely synced. Like every micro beat has like a thing to it. And every time I feel like someone does lighting over it, it kind of just feels like a drummer jamming over like a really tight electronic track. It kind of just like washes out all of the detail that you spent so long on in the track.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of feels like it's adding noise.
Yeah.
But yeah, dances and shit are fun for sure. They're a good time.
You probably love playing that. That's probably another reason why you love that, the Tipper show.
Yes. Yeah, his setup is exactly the same as mine, just like video wall, nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Good, awesome sound system, awesome big ass video wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was another. I forgot what it. I'm blanking on the name of the speakers, but yeah, when we had Tipper play, we I don't think we had to, but chose to, or maybe
function ones.
Yeah, we had the system flown out from Red Rocks.
Yeah, the Veros.
Yeah, and it was super crisp, and it was cool.
Yeah, they're really nice sound systems for sure. So, is this kind of like, this must be your full-time job? It seems like a ton of work, but do you have hobbies outside of it, or is this you just constantly like on this production promotion thing?
Yeah, no, I don't have another job outside of this.
I just mean like kind of hobbies, or like what do you do? Like, do you get any downtime to do anything else?
Oh yeah. No, I got lots of because I have a kid who's 6. A lot of my time is just doing. We hang out and just go do our thing.
Do they go to the festival too?
Yeah, he's been every year. So when he was born in August, and the festival was 6 weeks later. That was his first year coming.
Oh geez.
But this year he came out with me the Saturday before the festival. So we were first on site, him and I, and we laid down all the flags for the fence line. So you got like put them in there. So then the fencing crew comes out the next day, and you can just say follow the flags, and it's nice and easy. So he did that all with me. I think I paid him $48, something like that. He was pumped.
That's a lot for how old, 4 or 6?
6 years old.
That's a lot for a 6-year-old.
It was the ones that were in my truck. But yeah, he comes out, and then he stayed out there, of course, and helped out with a lot of different things. So it's cool to see him grow up and be around the festival. We are like a super family friendly festival. We have an area called the Family Garden that Chula on our team has started and ran with, and she has a whole, there's a whole, it's a stage now at this point. I mean, there's activities all day. There's performances. We had DJs out that were just like, young, teenager DJs that killed it. They played actually at the Coconut Club. She set up that like a kids show, and it was only for kids, and it was a silent disco. It was pretty cool. So yeah, we're trying to integrate the young ones into the festival as much as possible. So yeah, I hang out with him, and then I still play music a lot. I mean, I got a little keyboard right under my desk, so between meetings I'll click it on and play.
Do you perform at the festival as well?
I did this year and last year. I always do, but not. It's kind of like random. I did jazz piano in the VIP lounge during happy hour. Was my last one.
Nice.
This is cool. I just kind of like kicked off my shoes, and it was nice to get that time. Like in our first year, yeah, my band played, and that was more intense because there was only a few of us, and playing kind of messed up the whole festival. But now I can do it, and there's enough good people in place to handle it. But yeah, I played and just kind of screwed around. We always jam. We have like a big staff jam because most of our staff is musicians, and it's kind of how we knew each other. So everybody jumps on stage. And then randomly I'll stop by. We have an area called the Groove Grove, and it's a bunch of instruments that are just built into the trees, and you can like step up and play them. It's managed, so it doesn't get out of hand, but it's like drums and keyboards and guitar and bass and microphone, and anybody can step up and jam. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but yeah, I'll always kind of like pop in there if I hear some people playing good.
Awesome. Well, yeah, man, thanks for coming on the podcast. This was super interesting to talk to someone on this side of the industry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you inviting me and chatting with me.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks.